I don't want to be a wife right now, I need to find myself. I was cooking dinner when she said it. Just like that, casually, like she was choosing a new haircut. She leaned on the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, phone still glowing in her palm. I had a pan in one hand, spatula in the other, and she dropped a nuclear bomb with 9 words. I don't want to be a wife right now, I need to find myself. No tears. No guilt. No hesitation. Just that smug, rehearsed line. She said it like she'd read it in some overpriced self-help book written by a woman who probably blew up her own marriage for fun. I turned off the stove and looked at her. Then I hope you find what you're looking for, I said calmly. That was the last moment I allowed her to see me bleed. But what she didn't know was, while she was off finding herself, I was about to find everything. Every filthy, lying little detail. Her name is Madison. My wife. Or, used to be. We've been together since we were 21. Married at 27. Now 33, and apparently that's the age when a woman needs to discover herself, in hotel rooms with men who drive Audis and say things like, let's vibe. And me? I'm Jacob. I build things. Real things. I don't vibe, I commit. I work 12 hours, come home, cook dinner, and remember anniversaries. But apparently, that's not enough anymore. Not for Madison. She left that night. Packed a bag like it was a yoga retreat. Took her white suitcase and her cruelty-free makeup and walked out the door with a kiss on the cheek like we were still friends. She didn't expect me to check our shared iCloud. She probably forgot I set it up. I opened it the next day. Just curious. Just hurt. Just broken. And there they were, photos. Madison. In Miami. Smiling. Drinks. Rooftops. Bikini pics. And in most of them, a tall, tanned guy with abs like they were photoshopped. Tattoo on his ribs. She tagged him once, at Nate, real, best energy in the world kiss mark. Best energy in the world? My wife used to call me her safe place. Her rock. Now some fitness guru named Nate is her personal sunrise. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. But something inside me cracked clean in two. That night, I sat alone at our dining table. Her plate was still where she left it. I hadn't moved it. Just stared at it while her text notifications kept popping up on the screen of her forgotten iPad. Miss you already face blowing a kiss, last night was wildfire, can't wait to do it again when he's not around. When he's not around. That's me. The he in that sentence. The clueless husband. The idiot cooking dinner while his wife is out rediscovering her body with a stranger who probably thinks loyalty is a zodiac sign. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. The next morning, I left the house before dawn and drove to the old cabin I'd inherited from my dad. Spent 2 days there. No signal. Just me, a bottle of bourbon, and every memory I ever made with Madison turning into ash behind my eyes. When I came back, I packed her things. Neatly. Lovingly, even. Put them all in boxes. Wrote a note. What you'll find when you come back, is someone who no longer waits. I placed the note next to her favorite mug. The one I bought her in Charleston. And then I blocked her number. I was done being the man she could return to after playing make-believe with her self-discovery. Because what she didn't know was, I was about to discover something too. Something much darker. Something real. And it started with the photo I didn't mean to see. Madison. In a hotel bathroom mirror. Behind her, reflected in the marble, was another man. Not Nate. Someone older. Grayer. Wearing a wedding ring. And suddenly, this wasn't just a betrayal. This was a pattern. And I was going to dig until I hit bedrock. Because if she wanted to find herself, I was going to help. By showing her exactly what she lost. And who I'd become. Not her husband. Not her rock. Just the storm. ChatGPT Powiedzil. She came back 3 weeks later. No warning. No call. Just the sound of keys jingling in the door, like she still lived here. Like nothing had happened. Like her journey had been a short vacation and I was the Airbnb she could slide back into. She stepped in wearing sunglasses even though it was raining outside. Designer coat. Hair done. That same fake little smirk on her face that used to melt me. Now it made my stomach twist. "Hey," she said casually, like we'd only skipped a day, not destroyed a life. I didn't move from the couch. Just looked at her, my face empty. She blinked, probably expecting a hug. Maybe a passive-aggressive joke. She didn't get either. "You packed up my things?" she asked, walking toward the kitchen like she still owned the air in here. "They're in the garage." Her head jerked slightly. Not what she expected. "You serious? You found what you were looking for, right?" I said, standing up. "Because what's left here isn't waiting." That's when the smile cracked. Just a bit. "Jacob, come on. I needed space. That doesn't mean I was leaving you." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Space? Madison, you left this house to go get drunk, half naked, and bent over balconies in hotel rooms. That's not space. That's a full-on search party for your dignity. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? I picked up her iPad, tapped open the photos, and held it out. Which part? The thong selfies? The late-night mirror shots? Or the one where you're grinning with your hand down some guy's waistband? Her face dropped. For a second, she looked like a child caught stealing candy. But then she rolled her eyes. Rolled her damn eyes. "That's none of your business. You said I could take time. Time doesn't come with a hotel rewards program, Madison." She tried to grab the iPad from me, but I pulled it back. "And then there's this guy," I said, swiping to the bathroom pic. "Who is he?" "Because that's not Nate. That's someone else. Another adventure on your spiritual path?" She froze. And I saw it. That flicker in her eyes. Not shame. Not guilt. Fear. "Give me that," she said, voice sharper now. "Tell me who he is." She stayed silent. "You're not just cheating, Madison. You're spiraling. It's none of your business who I see now," she snapped. "We were on a break." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You were on a break. I was still married." She turned away, pacing, frustrated like I was the unreasonable one. "I didn't plan any of this, Jacob. I felt trapped. You don't understand what that's like." "I don't understand," I said, my voice rising. "I gave you everything. I made sacrifices. I worked overtime so you could start that stupid candle business. I made dinner while you were busy finding yourself between some guy's sheets. And I kept quiet. I waited. Silence. Then she looked at me with a coldness that made me dizzy. "You were boring," she hissed. The words hit like a bat to the ribs. "You were safe. Predictable. You made me feel like I was growing old. Nate made me feel alive again. The other one, he knew how to treat a woman. You just folded laundry and kissed my forehead." For a moment, I saw red. But I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just inhaled slowly, until the fury stopped shaking in my bones. "Thank you," I whispered. She blinked. "For what?" For finally showing me who you are. I walked to the front door, opened it wide. Now leave. She stared at me like she didn't believe it. Jacob. Leave. Before I forget how much you used to mean to me. She didn't say another word. She just walked out. And I watched. Not a tear in my eye. Not anymore. Because this wasn't sadness. This was rebirth. And I wasn't the same man she left behind. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was in pain, but because I was wired. Alert. Wide awake with a fire I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't the kind of burn that made you want to cry. It was the kind that made you want to do something. Build. Destroy. Reclaim. I sat on the living room floor surrounded by boxes, her boxes. One had a framed photo of us from our honeymoon in Oregon. She was smiling with her head on my chest, her hand on my heart like she owned it. I stared at that picture for 10 seconds, then snapped the frame in half and tossed it into the trash bin. One down. 27 lies to go. She thought I'd sit here and mourn her. What she didn't know was, I already did. Every night, for months, when I'd lie awake wondering why she didn't touch me anymore. Why her phone never left her hand. Why she smiled more at her Instagram feed than she ever did across our dinner table. She said she didn't want to be a wife anymore. Fine. I wasn't going to be her husband, either. The next morning, I met with an attorney. Clean break. No alimony. The house was mine, inherited from my grandfather. Everything inside it, mine. The car? In my name. Her business account? Funded by me, but in hers. She could keep it. A candle business that never sold more than 30 units wasn't worth the ink on the paper. I sent the divorce papers to her workplace. No message. No flowers. Just a clean stack of printed truth with my signature scrawled across every page like a declaration of war. 2 days later, she called from a blocked number. I picked up. Are you serious? She snapped. You sent divorce papers to my office? You left your dignity in a Miami hotel, I said calmly. Didn't think a few papers would bother you. I didn't say I wanted a divorce. You also didn't say you wanted to get railed by 2 different guys in 1 week, but here we are. Silence. Then a sigh. You're being vindictive. No, I said. I'm being done. And I hung up. She texted that night. A paragraph. Then another. Then a photo of us with the caption, "Do you really want to throw this away?" I didn't answer. Because I already had. The next few days were quiet. Almost too quiet. Like that eerie silence in a horror movie right before something goes crashing through the window. And sure enough, 3 nights later, something did crash. Literally. At 2:18 a.m., I woke up to the sound of glass shattering downstairs. I grabbed the baseball bat from under the bed and crept down barefoot, heart racing. Madison was in the kitchen. Drunk. Tears on her cheeks, mascara running like war paint. She was clutching one of the old mugs I hadn't thrown out. It was now broken in pieces across the floor. You changed the locks, she slurred. No SHT, I said, keeping my distance. You don't live here anymore. She wobbled, barefoot, her voice rising. You think this is easy for me? You think I'm not hurting? You're hurting because your playground closed. Not because you lost a marriage. You killed that months ago. Her lip trembled. For a second, I saw the woman I used to know. The one who used to curl up next to me and say I made her feel safe. The one who wore my hoodie to sleep even in summer. But then she spoke. You're not that special, Jacob. Guys like you are everywhere. Nice. Boring. Replaceable. I smiled. That's where you're wrong. She laughed bitterly. Oh yeah? And what makes you so irreplaceable? I stepped forward and whispered, because I'm the guy who let you go. And now, you're the one begging at the door. She froze. And then she broke. She dropped to the floor, sobbing. Not because she lost me, but because she lost control. I didn't comfort her. I walked past her, opened the front door again, and said the same words I had the last time. Leave. And this time, she did. No words. No goodbye. Just the click of her heels fading into the night. I closed the door and leaned my head against it, exhaling like I'd just walked out of a fire. Because I had. The morning after she broke in, I changed every lock in the house, installed cameras, and finally deleted every photo of her from my phone, cloud, hard drives, everything. It wasn't about spite anymore. It was about peace. And I wasn't going to let her poison linger like a ghost in the walls. But just when I thought the story was done, wrapped up in court filings and broken wine glasses, something else surfaced. Something worse. I got a call from Derek, an old friend of mine who worked in banking compliance. We hadn't spoken in years, but he remembered Madison because we used to double date back in the day. He'd always had a weird feeling about her. Said she had too much sparkle in her smile. He said, "Jake, I saw your name pop up in a flagged transfer. Thought you should know." I asked what he meant. $10,000 from one of your joint accounts, sent to a private account in the Bahamas. The name on the receiver isn't Madison. It's Nate Foster. Does that ring a bell? I almost dropped the phone. She funded the guy. She wasn't just cheating with him, she was sponsoring his lifestyle with my money. Money she took while claiming she needed time to reflect. Suddenly it made sense, why she never asked for more cash when she left. Why she was so calm. She'd already taken it. And I had the proof. I met with my attorney the next day, added financial misconduct to the divorce case, and froze the joint accounts. Within hours, her card declined, publicly. I didn't intend for it to happen in a restaurant, but it was poetic justice that I'll never apologize for. Later that night, she called again. From a different number. I picked up because I wanted to hear what excuse she'd come up with this time. "You froze my card," she snapped. "And you wired money to a guy who's probably juggling 3 other women just like you. I'd say we're even. You're blowing this out of proportion." He needed help starting a business. I laughed. "He's starting a business in your pants, Madison. And apparently you were the only investor." She went quiet. "I hope you're enjoying your little self-discovery journey," I added. "Because by the time you find yourself, there won't be anything left for you here." She tried to soften her tone. "Jake, listen. I made mistakes, I know. But we built something together. We were solid once. Doesn't that mean something?" I stayed silent. "Please, let's just talk," she begged. "Not about money. Just us. You gave us away for bottle service and a tanned idiot with motivational quotes for biceps. Now you want to talk." I was confused. "You were comfortable," I interrupted. "And you mistook loyalty for boredom. But now you're just scared." She didn't deny it. I ended the call and blocked the number. And then I made one more call, to Nate. I dug up his contact info from an old tagged photos metadata. Found his business page. Called as a potential investor. When he answered, I didn't give him time to pitch. "You don't know me, but you've been sleeping with my wife." He went quiet. "She's all yours now," I said. "Enjoy the monthly breakdowns, the gaslighting, the manipulation. Just make sure she doesn't find your bank account passwords." He tried to stammer something, but I hung up. That night, I slept like a rock. It wasn't over, not legally. But emotionally? She was a ghost. A lesson. A scar that didn't bleed anymore. I started seeing things clearer. Life returned. Color, too. The house didn't feel empty, it felt clean. Honest. Like I could finally breathe without wondering if my wife was lying to me with every smile, every "I love you," every meaningless touch. I even went to dinner alone. At our old spot. The waiter recognized me. "No Madison tonight?" I smiled. "Not anymore," I said. "But it's the first peaceful dinner I've had in years." ChatGPT Powiedzil. 2 weeks after the card freezing call, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was familiar. Sharp letters, rushed strokes, hers. Madison. I thought about tossing it in the trash unopened. But curiosity can be a dangerous drug. I sat at the kitchen counter, knife in hand, and slid the envelope open with a flick. Inside, a letter. Handwritten. She never handwrote anything unless she was trying to manipulate someone. I unfolded it and read. "Jacob. I know I've done terrible things. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know, I wasn't always like this. I lost myself. And when I left, I thought I was going to find clarity. What I found instead was emptiness. The nights, the cities, the men, it was all a distraction. Nate? He ghosted me the moment you froze the accounts. The other guy? Married. Lied about everything. I'm not proud of what I did. But I do miss you. I miss how safe I felt in your arms. I miss the way you'd make pancakes on Sundays, even when you hated cooking. I miss the quiet moments. I even missed the sound of your laugh when you tried to fix the sink and made it worse. I messed up. I was cruel. I was selfish. But if there's even one part of you that remembers who we used to be, I'm asking for a chance. Not to erase the past, but to build something new. Something real. Madison. I read it twice. The handwriting wobbled in places, she'd cried while writing it. Good. Maybe that meant she was human after all. But that wasn't my problem anymore. She didn't miss me. She missed being missed. She missed the life she torched the second she decided to go soul-searching between hotel sheets. I folded the letter neatly, put it back in the envelope, and tossed it into the fireplace. Watched the flames curl around her words like a quiet execution. No hate. No vengeance. Just closure. The next weekend, I took a road trip. Solo. Up north, into the mountains. No cell signal, no distractions. Just winding roads and clean air. I booked a tiny cabin off the grid, chopped my own firewood, and slept under stars for the first time in years. Out there, I wasn't Jacob the husband. I wasn't Jacob the betrayed. I was just a man. A man finally free of a woman who never valued what he gave. And it was there, staring into the fire one night, that it hit me. I never truly knew Madison. I knew the mask. The version she showed at family dinners and brunches with friends. But deep down, she was a stranger. A beautiful, charming, chaos-loving stranger who only loved stability when it benefited her. And that's the worst kind of betrayal, not just the cheating, not the lies. But realizing the person you loved never really existed. She called again the day I got back. New number. I let it ring. She texted, "I'm going to be in town this weekend. Can we please talk?" I didn't reply. I didn't even open the message. Because there was nothing left to say. I was done looking back. Done replaying the what-ifs. Done fantasizing about a version of her that never existed outside of my hope. Some people leave. Others pretend to stay while quietly packing their bags in their minds. Madison had left long before the door ever opened. I was just the last one to realize it. 3 days later, I saw her. Not in person, on my screen. I was scrolling through a friend's tagged photos on Facebook, absent-mindedly, when there she was. Madison. Smiling, again. But this time the smile looked forced, cracked at the edges. She was sitting at some rooftop bar, holding a glass of champagne, her hand barely touching the arm of another guy, different from Nate, different from the hotel man. Some new experiment. Her caption, "New chapters require new characters." Open book sparkles. I almost laughed. She'd become a parody of herself. A woman addicted to chaos, to journeys, to shallow beginnings and quick dopamine hits disguised as love. And still, somewhere deep inside me, something twisted. Not because I missed her, not because I wanted her back. But because I had wasted so much time believing in someone who never deserved it. I closed the app and opened a journal I hadn't touched since college. A gift from my mother, back when life was still simple and love was something I imagined, not dissected. I wrote everything. Every lie she told. Every moment I should have walked away but didn't. Every apology I swallowed instead of demanding answers. I poured it all out, page after page, until my hand cramped. I needed it out of me. Not to keep. To purge. By the time I stopped, the sun was coming up. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger or heartbreak. I felt clean. There's a moment, after a storm, when the sky turns quiet, like the world is holding its breath. That's where I was. Not in love. Not in hate. Just free. A few days later, her sister, Elise, reached out. Elise had always been different. Grounded. She never liked how Madison treated me, but stayed out of it. She messaged me privately. "I heard what happened. I just want you to know, not everyone in this family is blind. You deserved better. I'm sorry you had to go through all this." I thanked her. Thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. A week passed. Elise messaged again. Nothing heavy. Just a meme. Then a song. Then a "How are you doing?" And strangely, it wasn't awkward. We talked. Not about Madison, about life. Movies. Coffee. Hiking trails. It was easy. She never tried to fix me. Never asked for details. She just listened. And laughed at my jokes like they were actually funny. One night, she sent me a photo of her dog wearing sunglasses. I laughed so hard I choked on my tea. It wasn't flirting. It wasn't romantic. It was just real. And real was something I hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, Madison kept posting. One day it was crystals. The next, some motivational quote she clearly didn't live by. Then came the "I've learned my worth" selfies, followed by not-so-subtle thirst traps. She was still trying to find herself in reflections of other people. And I was done watching. I blocked her. Everywhere. Email. Socials. Phone. Not because I was angry. Because she no longer existed in the world I was building. A world with peace. With clarity. With people who didn't treat loyalty like an outdated trend. Weeks turned to months. One night, Elise invited me out for a drink. Just a drink. No pressure. She met me at a small jazz bar downtown, wearing jeans and a hoodie that said, "Emotionally available," on weekends. We laughed before we even sat down. We talked for hours. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a man recovering from betrayal. I felt like someone with a future. A future Madison would never see. Because by the time she realized what she lost, I had already found what I never knew I needed. Spring came fast. The house bloomed with silence, the good kind. The kind that doesn't echo with regrets or unanswered questions. Just stillness. I repainted the bedroom. Got rid of the headboard we picked together. Bought a new couch, one that I actually liked. Not beige. Not modern rustic. Just mine. I didn't date. Not seriously. Not for a while. I wasn't chasing anything. But life? Life had already started again. I began spending more time outdoors. Morning jogs. Weekend hikes. Joined a local boxing gym, not to fight, but to feel something punch back after all the months I'd spent beating myself up alone. Some nights, I'd sit on the back porch with a drink, just staring at the stars. And I'd think, how did I let it go so far? Not just her lies, but mine. The lies I told myself. That she loved me. That things would get better. That loyalty guarantees safety. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. Loyalty given to the wrong person is just self-inflicted pain. Madison never came back again. No letters. No messages. No surprise appearances. Maybe she finally got tired of the silence. Or maybe she found a new stage for her chaos. Either way, I didn't care. She was a lesson. A scar. One I no longer wished away. Because scars don't mean you lost. They mean you healed. A year passed. I ran into Nate at a gas station on the edge of town. He didn't recognize me at first. I'd changed. Cleaner look. Stronger. Eyes no longer heavy. When he did recognize me, he hesitated. Awkward smile. Hey, I didn't wait. You can keep the stories, I said quietly. I kept the peace. He nodded and didn't say another word. Later, I heard he'd been dumped by Madison 2 months after I cut the money off. She accused him of being boring. Classic. One night, Elise came over with pizza and a 6-pack. We didn't talk about her sister. Not once. We played cards, watched some bad horror movie, and fell asleep on the couch. Nothing happened. Just comfort. Laughter. Wholeness. And that night, I realized something. It's not about replacing the person who hurt you. It's about replacing the version of yourself that allowed it. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt. So here's what I'd tell anyone who's standing where I once stood. When someone says, I need to find myself, while looking over your shoulder at another man, let them go. Let them run barefoot into the storm they created. And don't chase. Because what they find, when they try to come back, won't be the man who waited. It'll be the one who walked away first. And never looked back.